Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about us and our services, please visit our website at www.wsk9co.com.
Today we're going to talk about the behavior or the act of move and moving around your dog versus your dog moving around you. Michelle, if you'll talk a little bit about what's the expectations of your dogs in your household as far as living with them?
I'm assuming you mean moving out of my space.
Yep.
So especially like in certain areas of the house, the kitchen, the bathroom, things like that, I expect my dogs to be out of my way. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty good firm move out of my way if they do get into that space. And it really is just me claiming my space. They don't need to be in there with me. Yeah.
Okay. Melissa, how do you respond when Cooper is laying down in the pathway of just kind of the normal pathways of the house? What do you do? Do you step over or do you make her move?
We make her move. Quite early on, if we go, that is a signal to her, move, get up where you're going.
Yeah.
And she's early on responded well to that.
Uh-huh.
We'll also use that. She's a border collie.
Yep.
And she early on tried to hurt us around the house. Every once in a while she'll still do it.
Yep.
But like, you don't move us, we move you.
Yep.
Get out of our space. And she responds to that.
Nice. Michelle?
Just to add on to it a little bit, Murphy has to be in everything. He has to be involved in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, everything. There's nothing that dog, if you look under the bed, he will full on get under the bed with you. And he's an 80-pound dog.
Yep.
So move has always been a really big thing for him, is that you do need to actually physically move him out of your space sometimes because he has to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to add a little bit onto what Melissa said as well. In my house, it really depends on the situation if I move them or not.
Okay.
If they're in my pathway, it really depends. And what I mean by that is if they're all being calm and relaxed, I will step over them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they're not in my way, if it's just in the hallway.
Yep.
I think when they were puppies, I started doing that a little, especially with Rambo, a little bit more even consciously thinking about it.
Right.
Because I wanted him to trust me to be able to step over him and not step on him being so small.
Yep.
So it really, on that one, I think it really just depends 100% on the situation of what's going on.
Sure.
Like I said, in the kitchen, it's move, get out of my way. You're not allowed in here. You're not allowed to lay down in here.
Yeah.
This is not your resting place.
Yep.
The bathroom is the same way. This is my space. But if they're calmly just laying, even if I'm getting off the couch and they're calmly laying underneath me on the couch, if they're being good about it, I will step over them. So it really just depends. I never ever make myself uncomfortable to go around them though.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on that note, it would be more about, the intentions of the dog. Are they holding ground, and are they a dog that tends to hold ground versus a dog that is just completely out and zonked? And Chianti, our female shepherd, holds ground, and so we have to be. She'll give up one spot, and she knows where you're headed. So, for example, we don't have a giant house, so it's not like, everybody kind of has to move around each other. And so she pretty much knows that if I'm heading to the bathroom and I tell her to move, she's going to the bathroom. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to take the next spot that you're headed to. So for her, it's really about moving. But at night, she doesn't I don't want her to move. I want to fill her with my foot, step over her, and go to the bathroom. And so we've kind of touched a couple of different scenarios about, her getting out of space. Bora, who's much older, he is now tending to get in front of you and stop. He never used to do that, but as a senior dog, he's looking around. You're like, move, you got to go. And that's something, he's never been a dog that takes space. But now that he's older, he tends to do that, and I think it's more of a comfort thing. So I think that it's a great command to teach your dogs, but also you shouldn't necessarily have to always tell them to move. If they know that you're coming, they should move, and then your corrective, excuse me, you should not be there. You know better, kind of a thing. But just them understanding the rhythm of kind of what's going on as we can sleep, everything's fine, versus I'm just really in the way. They need to move. And I think it's a respectful thing also. If you have a dog that's resource guarding, that's aggressive, that's assertive, that's being pushy, like behavior, I'll teach people, don't walk around your dog, and when you're doing obedience commands, your dog should move around you, not you moving into position to get your dog into position. Shannon, having a bully breed, and we've had a little Frenchie here all week, and she's fairly bold that way too. Like, she's easy enough to pick up and move, but she tends to hold ground and kind of want to spar a little bit with you. How have you kind of handled that with Louie and being just a breed specific, where they have a tendency to kind of be bold about space?
I mostly don't ask him to move because I feel like that's setting him up for a failure, because I know he won't if he's in that mindset, because he does follow me around and helps around me around the house, doing the laundry and things. And if he's in the laundry and I need him to move, I'll say, move, and he'll just like hop to the side or just scoot over. But if he's in the mindset where like puffed up and stanced, this is my space, then I just say no. And then he's like, oh, and then he'll sit, or he'll go away, So I don't tell him to move when he's in that holding the ground attitude, because I feel like he won't move. So why ask him to do that and set him up to fail? So as a puppy, I also didn't ask him to move. I just step on him. And so as a baby, the move was more like a, watch out, I'm going to step on ya. Kind of a thing, not a command to move, but just like a heads up. Mm-hmm. And then he just learned to stay out of areas where I more frequently step on him. For example, in the kitchen, I'm not paying attention to him. I'm paying attention to cooking. And so I just walk wherever I want. That kitchen is mine. And if he's pretty sturdy, so I don't feel bad to step on him. If I step on you, then too bad. And so he just learned when I'm cooking, he goes in the total other room to stay out of the way. So I think it's important to recognize how you want them to move or how you want them to behave, and change whether it's a knowledge, an ambient knowledge kind of a moving out of the way. If it's a command to move to the side, which is more now when I say move, he'll move, like dance around to whatever space is out of the way. Right. Or if it's a totally unrelated thing, that you have to deal with a different way. Yeah.
Well, and I think, Michelle, Melissa, having your herding dogs, sometimes without giving them commands as you shuffle through and step on, turns into, you're now the cow or the sheep that steps on me, so now I'm going to respond appropriately to hurting you and nipping at you, because that's what they're bred to do. And so I think with this this specific behavior that we're asking, we have to be aware and conscious of the breeds that we're working with. And is it a redirective move? Is it get out of my space move? Is it, is it you can't ever be there move kind of a thing? So I think it's really important to be aware of the breeds that you have. Because I know Michelle Murphy at a younger age tended to really, like, he was really in a herding zone with you guys.
Absolutely. In fact, saying that, I think all three of my dogs I treat extremely different in the way that move works.
Yeah.
Murphy definitely has to be redirected somewhere else, because it will turn into a game to him. He will start pushing back. He will start barking and play bowing and throwing himself at you and being stupid.
Right.
So his is definitely has got to be your redirect. So his move is really, like, especially in the kitchen, it's get out of the kitchen and go go lay down by your bowl.
Right.
So it's got to be a redirect. He's got to go somewhere else. He's got to be doing something else, or else he's just going to come back in anyways.
Yeah. Yep.
Rambo was a totally different story, because he didn't trust us when he was a puppy so much that everything we did was, instead of instead of him moving out of our way, it was you have to trust us and we're going to step over you and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
He really does not get in the way very often anymore, though.
Yeah.
I guess he never really did because he didn't trust us. So he is always up and out of the way. So even if I'm ever in the kitchen, we have like a little ledge on the outside of the kitchen. He'll lay up there. He can still see into the kitchen, but he's not in the kitchen at all.
Yep.
If we're in the family room, he's up on the couch. So his has never really been a move, get out of the way type of thing. His was actually quite the opposite. We were trying to get him to where we could step over him, and he had to be in our space. And he definitely is in our space now, but it's in a safe way for him.
Yeah. Yep.
And Prudence has always been a stubborn butt, and she still never gets out of the way.
Yep. She's totally okay if you step on her.
She doesn't care, and it is, especially now that she's gone deaf, it has gotten to the point now that you and it's like you can pinch her, and she still isn't moving. You have to physically pick her up and move her if you want her to move. She has never cared, and I've never felt like it was a challenging thing like Murphy.
No,
like Murphy's challenging to be in your space. Prudence is just lazy and is asleep. And so it's like you physically have to like get her out of the way. So,
and I think having old dogs, Prudence and Bora and stuff like the older they get, it's more of a comfort thing for them to kind of hold ground and just like everybody works around them because then they're aware of what's going on versus when they're younger, it's completely different. Melissa, what has some of the challenges with having a border collie, and movement is always a big animated thing? How did you help her redirect with your moves so she didn't get turning back onto you guys?
When she does get into her herding mindset, and she does quite often, it's very natural to her, and she'll get in that position and she'll get all excited. You can't engage with her. You tell her to move, it turns into a game. I am now the sheep, the cow, the anything. So we ignore her. We don't acknowledge her, give her a no, and I care about my business. That deflates her balloon, and she follows alongside me. Usually throughout the day, she'll just be by my side and just kind of hang out with what I'm doing. In the kitchen, though, that's when she gets into her herding mindset the most. If I try to leave the kitchen, it's a game. So we've redirected. She closes all the cupboards for me. So rather than waiting at the entrance of the kitchen to herd me back in herd me
to
out,
get you back in your pen.
Yeah. I keep her busy by opening cupboards. She has to shut them. Open drawers. She has to shut them. So she's distracted.
Yeah.
She always has to be redirected once she's in that herding mode.
Yep.
Or ignored, and her balloon's deflated.
Sure. Okay. That's good. Anybody else? Shannon, anything else to add? You shouldn't be afraid to tell your dog to move and to get out of your space. But with all training, it just needs to be appropriate to their mindset and where they're at so that everybody can be successful without causing frustration or a dog to start holding ground even more.
Something I was just thinking of when you said that too. Something else to consider is I never try to send my dog away without having them do something else. So sure. I'm not pushing them out of my life in any way, shape, or form. Like Murphy, where his bowl is, he can still see everything that is going on in the kitchen. He's still very much involved in what's going on.
Right.
If I crack an egg, he still jumps up because he thinks he's going to get the yolk.
Sure.
Like, I never ever like send my dogs, like if they're being obnoxious, they never are pushed outside because I want them to be part of my life. And I assume most people want their dogs to want to be a part of their life as well.
Yep.
So that's also something to think about when you're telling your dog to move is
it's not a go away from me. I don't want you by me.
Yeah. I still want them all to be connected with me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I was just thinking that using the command move to move out of an area or away from something is really specific to that, and it's a command that's really personal between you and your dog. So you should be careful not to use that command move for other things like get off the sofa, and especially if guests are over, like move probably isn't a command that your guest should be using or that should be directing a behavior that a guest has to deal with. Does that make sense? So just try and be careful when you're using move that you're using it for that. Just scoot over or just get out from under my feet, and that it's not another behavioral problem or behavior you don't want that you're misappropriating the word move for.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't use it if the dog's jumping, and you wouldn't use it if the dog's on the couch. It would be off if that's appropriate in your household. So definitely using it appropriate, and yeah, visitors, company should not be using that word at all.
Yeah, I love that you bring up company and guests using it, because with Cooper, when we do like that, that only works with us.
Yeah.
If other people do it, she doesn't understand. She gets more confused. She starts playing. And she's wondering what they're acknowledging.
Right.
It's only for us, and it took a while for us to realize that it just confused her when other people did it.
Yeah.
And it almost made her want to herd them more.
Sure.
Like she kind of took that as a challenge. And stood her ground more. But if we did it while she was away, she redirected back to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's a great point, Melissa, because that's really how you should be using it, where it's not, you don't want company challenging your dog in any way. And that move command actually is a challenge. It is a taking space kind of behavior. So you have to be careful with that for sure. So something new, something challenging to add into your life of living with your dog is incorporating that move, get out of my space kind of command.
Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about us and our services, please visit our website at www.wsk9co.com. And as always, we urge you to get out and train.